Okay, I have George Washington. He was born February 22nd, 1732. He died December 14th, 1799. He was born in Westmoreland County, Virginia. Took oath on April 30th, 1789. He was president from April 30th, 1789 to March 4th, 1797. Before he was president, he led Northwest Indian War. He led American Revolutionary War, French and Indian War, Battle of Jumonville Glen, Battle of Fort Necessity, Braddock Expedition, Battle of Monongahela, Forbes Expedition. He's known as the founding father of the United States. He was the first president. He joined the states together and helped establish the federal government during his first term. He established a six-member Supreme Court. He was commander-in-chief of the Continental Army.
My president was John Adams. He was the second president of the United States, and he lived from 1735 to 1826. One of the biggest things he did before his presidency was help draft the Declaration of the Constitution. He also helped make the peace treaty with Britain once the war was over. One of his major points in his presidency was the Quasi-War. The Quasi-War was a French and British war that the French believed we should be in since they helped us with the Revolutionary. John Adams believed it was probably best to stay out of it just because we just got out and believed we should preserve ourselves and try to take acts against that. This major precaution was signing the Alien and Sedition Act. And all this pretty much did was allow the president to deport any alien considered dangerous and change the years of citizenship from 5 at the time to 14. And these laws pretty much just helped immigrants from voting for Democratic and Republicans. Due to the war, it started the Third Rebellion of the 18th century. The Third Rebellion is called Fry's Rebellion, which was a group of Dutch farmers that got together to show their distaste of the Alien Sedition Acts, which brought in an extra $2 million for America, which greatly put them in poverty at the time.
Thomas Jefferson was an American founding father, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and the third president of the United States. He was a spokesman for democracy and the rights of man with worldwide influences. He was president from 1801 to 1809. He had 2 daughters, and his wife was Martha Skelton. The achievements he made being president: he made the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. He also allowed the Alien and Sedition Acts to end without renewal. And he had the tax on liquor that caused the Whiskey Rebellion repeal. One very important event that happened during his presidency was the Marbury versus Madison case, which set up the Supreme Court's power to rule federal acts unconstitutional. The Tripolitan War from 1801 to 1805 was a very important event also.
President James Madison was born at Belgrove Plantation near Port Conway, Virginia on March 16, 1751. James Madison was known as the Father of the Constitution, mainly because he wrote the first draft of the Constitution. He also co-wrote the Federalist Papers and sponsored the Bill of Rights. Madison served 2 terms as the 4th President of the United States, and he was the second one to deal with a major war, the War of 1812. This war was brought upon mainly because of the British impressment of forcing American merchants into the Royal Navy to fight for them. In this old political cartoon of President James Madison in a bigger, more powerful British redcoat, President Madison gives the British a bloody nose as a kind of response to the War of 1812.
James Monroe was the 5th President of the United States. He was the last founding father to ever serve as a president. He served in the American Revolutionary War, where he was shot in the shoulder. He spent the rest of his time in the war greeting his friends and not on the front lines. In 1803, James Monroe went to France to work with Robert Livingston on the Louisiana Treaty Process to purchase the Louisiana Territory from France. Him and Robertson were successful to purchase the Louisiana Territory. James Monroe, acting as Secretary of State, encouraged Congress to declare war on the British for enslaving their sailors, which caused the War of 1812. James Monroe was elected president March 4th, 1817. In his time as president, he had to deal with the Panic of 1819, which was a crash of the economics due to an influx of demand goods. In the spring of 1820, James Monroe was at the end of his first four-year term as president and had to make a hard choice. He wanted to be reelected. Or to be reelected, he had to make some compromises. This was the Missouri Compromise that stated that slavery is allowed in Missouri, which just became a state, but the rest of Louisiana could not be any slave state. The Monroe Document started out as a message to the Senate declaring that the Western Hemisphere is not to be interfered with any European powers, that the continents in the Western Hemisphere shall not be attacked, colonized, or anything of that sort. It shortly became a moral document in which America used to force all other European nations from attempting such.
John Adams was the 6th President of the United States, who was born on October 30th, 1735 in Braintree, now Quincy, Massachusetts, and died on July 4th, 1826 in Braintree, Massachusetts. John Adams graduated from Harvard College in 1755. When he was younger, he served as an American envoy to France. He was a father, husband, Unitarian, lawyer, and Federalist. John Adams was well known for fixing a lot of debt and getting the U.S. out of it, which, as we all know, is very rare today. The XYZ fever. The XYZ came from French diplomats in Adams' documents, and it all started with when France had an argument with another country overseas. Well, that was affecting us over here, so Adams wanted to control it. While the U.S. tried negotiating with France, they demanded a bribe, which offended the U.S. Since we didn't give France what they wanted, we had an undeclared naval war with them, known as the Quasi-War. John Adams was known as Atlas of Independence. An interesting fact about John Adams was many people said he was a remarkable political philosopher more than a politician.
Andrew Jackson, also known as Old Hickory, was the 7th President of the United States and an Army general in the War of 1812 and the First Seminole War. He is also known for causing the Trail of Tears. Jackson died with a musket ball still stuck in his body from a duel because it was too close to his heart for removal. The first assassination attempt against a president was in 1835 when a man tried to kill Jackson with 2 pistols, but both guns misfired. Jackson got the name Old Hickory because he was tough and aggressive and often got into duels with people, sometimes fatal to his opponents. Jackson is the only president to ever pay off the national debt. Jackson is also responsible for the Indian Removal Act and the Trail of Tears, forcing more than 45,000 Native Americans to relocate from the southeast to the west. Even as a president, he was still tough and aggressive, carrying on the nickname Old Hickory.
The 8th president was Martin Van Buren. He was a Democrat. Before his presidency, he was the 8th vice president and 10th secretary of both under Andrew Jackson. He was a president from March 4th, 1837 to March 4th, 1841. He advocated lowered tariffs and free trade. He succeeded in setting up a system of bonds for the national debt and reversed Jackson's policies and sought peace at home. He was the president for the First Great Depression in 1837. which led to the creation of an independent treasury. At the end of his term, Jackson stipulated that all public lands must be bought with gold or silver. Soon after Van Buren took office, the nation was gripped in a financial panic as citizens rushed to exchange their state-issued paper money for hard currency.
I have the 9th President of the United States, William Henry Harrison. Harrison served the shortest presidency starting in 1841 and also ending in 1841. He's remembered most for dying only 32 days into his presidency of pneumonia. Harrison was born into one of the wealthiest families in the U.S. at the time. He served as a general in the War of 1812, which is where he gained much of his fame. Harrison was also the first president from the Whig Party. He was happily married and had 10 children. Harrison won his election by a landslide, with gaining more than 53% of the vote. He was also the oldest man at the time to be president, before Ronald Reagan. Harrison, before his presidency, was governor for the Indiana Territories and often used to communicate with the Indians.
John Tyler was the 10th President of the United States. He served as a state legislator, governor, U.S. representative, and a U.S. senator. He was born in Virginia in 1790. He attended the College of William and Mary and studied law. He served in the House of Representatives from 1816 to 1821. Once he left the House, he served as a governor of Virginia. He recurrently supported Jackson for president as a choice of evil. John Tyler also voted against most nationalist legislation and opposed the Missouri Compromise. Tyler joined the states' rights Southerners in Congress who banded with Henry Clay, Daniel Webster, their newly formed Whig Party opposing President Jackson. The Whigs nominated Tyler for vice president in 1840.
James K. Polk. He was born in Pennville, North Carolina on November 2nd in 1795. Polk was a graduate with honors in 1818 from the University of North Carolina with a degree in law. He was married to Sarah Childress on January 1st, 1824. His nicknames were Polk the Purposeful, Napoleon the Stump, Young Hickory, which he borrowed from Andrew Jackson, whose was Old Hickory. After he entered politics in the Tennessee legislature, he went into the House of Representatives. He was a chief legislator of Andrew Jackson in his bank war, served as a speaker between 1835 and 1839, then leaving to become the governor of Tennessee. Polk became president on March 4th, 1845, and his term ended on March 3rd, 1849. During his presidency, Polk added a vast area to the United States. He added New Mexico and California in return for $15 million of damage in a war with Mexico. Just a few months later, after Polk left office, he died on June 15, 1849.